Yeah, I found it. Yeah. All right. So I'm recording this.
All right, cool. So thanks, guys, for having us and letting us demo the AR Receipts Wizard for you. Yes, my name is Rick Matthews. I'm the account manager for you guys with More for Apps. I've been with my company for 3 years. I used to be on the other side of the house for you guys, working for a company doing Oracle applications, yada, 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 that functional guy. Now I'm over here because we used to use the products. I believed in them. Been around the EBS suite for a good 15 years, so it's me. Rochelle, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Yep. So I'm in the pre-sales group, which supports the sales function and does product demos and helps out with, rolling out the wizard or supporting it later, any technical issues. And prior to this, I was about 15 plus years in the EBS implementation, upgrade that space as a consultant, and mostly in the order to cash vertical. And I did from 11i to R12 implementations and support and upgrades. So that's about me, and I'm going to walk through the AR receipt wizard today that I have up here. And I believe I've interacted with Roxanne before. And who else do we have on your side other than Roxanne?
Lisa Bowell. I'm Director of Corporate AR Credit and Collections for LKQ.
Okay. All right. Great.
Okay. And Roxanne, what's your role again? I forgot. Business analyst or? Cool. Gotcha. All right. So this demo is for you guys to stop and ask questions, and I will shut up. Roxanne, it's all yours.
Sure.
No, I apologize. I won't shut up because I'm obnoxious. So what don't you guys tell us your requirements? You said because now it's a broader scope than what it originally was. So tell us what you're looking for beforehand, and then we'll go from there.
Basically, we are looking to high volume receipts where, say, a customer like Mopar who has 30,000 receipt applications on one receipt where it comes in through the lockbox and it's completely misapplied, so it has to be reworked and applied to the correct transaction.
Okay.
So what we would need to do is download the receipt applications, unapply them, and then reapply them to the correct transaction.
Got it. Okay.
We also still have the requirement for the miscellaneous receipts where we can do the multiple GL distributions,
right,
which is what I've been waiting for a year.
Yep,
and
it's here.
also just small receipt uploads. Say something didn't go through the lockbox, that went through a local deposit. We need to be able to create and upload new receipts with applications.
Right.
We need to be able to possibly use the adjustment functionality where we can list multiple customer accounts and receipts and do adjustments receipts or transactions and be able to do adjustments. So I'd like to see that functionality.
Right.
Basically, tell me what this wizard can do, and I'm sure we could probably find a scenario where we would be able to utilize the functionality.
Okay, great. Yep. So I'll go into generic and then we can get into specifics. I'll definitely cover the miscellaneous receipts and adjustments, so we can unfold as we go along. Okay, so so this is the wizard. I'm presuming you've seen some of it. I mean, some other wizards. So I'll go through the sign on and all, usual signing on. So these are my instances, and I'll just log on to one of them here. Anybody totally new? Lisa, are you totally new to the wizards, or?
Lisa has never seen the wizard functionality.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good to know. Okay, yeah. So usually, I mean, all of our wizards, we provide them as Excel workbooks, and that's about the only thing you need at the end user level. So these are our workbooks, Excel wizards that we call them, and they are basically XLSMs, which means they've got macros embedded, and that's all you need at the end user level. There's no other installation And I just double clicked the AR receipt wizard, opened it up, and then this workbook comes up. And it's very typical in the layout as well. If you go across any of our wizards, pick any of our wizards, you would see that they have a few status columns here on the left, which are marked as a results section. So you can ignore that when you're setting up your data. And the actual data columns start after that in this light blue kind of a color. And what we typically do is just take the corresponding form, which is the receipts entry form, and every field of it is converted to a column. And basically, if you have multiple tabs on the form, all of those get laid out flat here. If you have button clicks or some of the fields are hidden on the tools menu and other places, it's all just laid out here flat, so that it's much easier for mass viewing, mass loading, or some kind of bulk activity that you have to do on the receipts. So that's typically how we handle all of the wizards. I mean, all of the layouts. Okay, and that's common across. And the layout is pretty flexible in the sense that if you don't want to work with the application, you just want to create receipts unapplied, you can just remove that section from your layout. So you might see that I've got an unapply example. I've got an adjustment example where I just have the invoice header and the adjustment. I don't have anything else. So the layout is not very rigid. You can move columns around. It doesn't have to be any specific order. As long as the column label here on row 9 is same, the wizard will know where to tie it back on the form. Okay, so it doesn't have to be on this column. So if your logbox has a certain, your logbox is generating some kind of a layout and you want to use that, you can always match this to, modify this to match that. Okay, so it can come anywhere. It doesn't have to be in that specific position. Okay. And feel free to chime in with any questions you have, interject with them, and any scenarios that you want to tweak around when I'm walking through this.
Has a quick question.
Sure. Yeah.
About when you're doing adjustments, can you assign a transaction number, or is it standard Oracle functionality that Oracle creates the transaction number?
So it has to be an existing transaction that you're doing an adjustment to. You cannot be creating new transactions from the receipt wizard. So the transaction number would already be existing from the flow that I can.
In Oracle, the adjustment itself has its own transaction number. So in other words,
okay.
If I
Right.
download a transaction that I want to do an adjustment on, I create the adjustment, and that adjustment is assigned a transaction number.
Okay, yeah. So that adjustment number is auto-assigned, yeah, and you get that back under this column here. You cannot insert it or anything. You cannot assign any adjustment number here.
Okay, so if I wanted to post a credit to a customer account for a rebate, as an example, I could do that through that invoice adjustment section there, defining the GL and the date and the amount, and it would automatically assign a credit memo to the customer.
An adjustment.
An adjustment.
An adjustment to a transaction, yeah. It won't create a new credit memo. It'll come as an adjustment on the existing transaction.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, it could be positive, negative. This amount could be anything.
So I'd have to use an existing invoice number to be able to post that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Okay, so let me make the connection. So as I said, these macros, what they do is they pop in some extra menus here, some extra ribbons on the, apart from the standard Excel ribbons. And this is all using the VB macros we have embedded. And amongst all these icons, you'll find the functionality to connect to EBS and extract from EBS any data or push data in. That's what these uploads and download buttons are for. So we go in here, make a connection first. I mean, until then, it's just a, Excel spreadsheet. It's a flat Excel. You can do anything, you like type in your data or paste anything in here, arrange your data even before you make the connection. But when you want to interact with EBS, it'll ask you to make the connection first. And that can be done from here by the About button. And this connection window here, you can configure. The first time you would need to point to the URLs, and next time onward it holds these connection details. So all you need is to point with the alias name here on the left. You could have QA, dev, test, whatever you want to name it. And on the right is the actual browser URL that you use when you want to access your instance on the browser. It's the same one. After signing on, you get this kind of a link. That's what you use here. Okay, and once you do this at the end user level, when you save it, this is retained next time on. So you just pick up the alias that you defined just now and pick the one that you want to log on to and click on login. So this brings up the same browser kind of login page. You can use your same Oracle credentials. And the prerequisite is that for this to come up successfully is that the DBA should have installed a couple things on the server layer, which is servlet on the application server and a few packages to be compiled. So it's a quick job for them. So once you use your Oracle credentials, the wizard goes in and checks if you're an authenticated user. It brings back your set of responsibilities, operating units, everything, all the secure sign-on that Oracle does is all respected here as well. Okay, and then you log in with the responsibility which gives you access to create receipts. That's essential because otherwise the wizard will again say that you're not authorized and knock you off the editing capability. So now it's signing on. Okay, so this tells you all the details. You don't need to do anything much here. And then you close it. Now you're connected and you'll be able to see that your status here, that you're connected as this user on this instance with these responsibility and operating unit. Okay, now do you have multi-org or do you have a global responsibility and you have to work across operating units or?
We will in the future, yes.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry, what was the question?
Multi-org or across business units. Do we have that functionality or need? I said we will in the future.
Yeah, we will in the future.
In the
but not
future,
right
okay.
now.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's pretty easy. You just have to go back to the About button here. You don't have to log off or anything. Just go to the About. And any moment you can come in here and change your responsibility.
Right.
Because it gives you, if it's the same user with a different operating unit and a responsibility, like these are all operating units. So just get in here, change your responsibility or change your operating unit if you have a global responsibility. And then you should be able to keep working on without, changing any user or anything. Okay, we'll get there when you actually move to multi-org. So now that we are connected, we are ready to actually start creating receipts, downloading, unapplying, applying, whatever you want to do. So I was going to start with a scenario where I've set up data to just create a few receipts here. I gave them, and I've used Excel formulae and everything. You can use all of that. VLOOKUPs. I've used concatenate, anything you want to utilize of Excel functionality, formulae, macros, anything is all intact here, Excel functionality. So I've used those to generate a few unique receipt numbers, and the other parts are all standard. I just gave a payment method. I used basically copy pasted most of it. So you'd see some repetition, but it'll work for anything. So I've got the amount here, and for some of them, I've left them unapplied. Now you'll see that all of these don't have any applications. Wherever you see a gap, there might be multiple. So the parent-child is laid out this way, that you have the parent here, the receipt header, and you don't find any repeats of the header, which means, if there are blank rows in between, it just means that if you scroll over to the right, there are some child rows, which means multiple applications. Okay, this just happened to be some, erroneous blank rows. But in this case, if you see, these two applications tie up to the same receipt header. So it's an application of this 500 amount across two transaction numbers, and you're splitting 100 across these two transactions. And you give an application date and everything. Okay. And there's another way to enter now if you don't remember all the transaction numbers or you don't remember any of the values, bill to location or something. This Excel also gives you the ability to pull up forms and the list of values. So I just double clicked anywhere on the data columns, and it brings up the corresponding section on a form. And the first time it's actually retrieving all of the lists of values, as you can see here. So it actually gets all of them from EBS. And then these are available here. So you can look up the statuses or anything else. I mean, if you don't have them off the top of your head, even the transaction numbers, you can do a partial string search and search for other transactions here. Okay, so that's about building your data. You can even, pull from your logbox file or anything. You can write some macros and automatically pull in data from somewhere external also. Okay, so the setting up of data seems feasible, like how you would map this and everything. I mean, this seems like in a layout or a format that seems like you can easily populate for your, the Mopar files could easily go in here, you think?
I have one quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
The cell that you're in right now is in the amount applied column.
Mm-hmm.
What if we didn't have the amount to apply? Say a customer sent a receipt for $100 and referenced 5 transactions for application, but didn't list the amounts of the transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Would that apply when we did the import and the create? Would that actually apply to the transaction in full?
No, amount applied on the wizard is a mandatory column. I don't know how you do it even on the Oracle form, because even the Oracle form would mandate you to enter.
So could you go over to the right where it shows the, I think I'm looking for the outstanding balance, I guess, of the
this is
invoice.
Yes, these are the these are the outstanding balances. They come up when you are validating.
So if I put the transaction number in there and then run the macro, will it return the outstanding balance of those invoices in here for then me to populate the amount applied?
Yes, yeah, we can do that.
Does that make sense?
Right, yep, I got what you're asking. So for that, what you can do is you can do a validate. So let's say you don't know the amounts. So you can run a validate only, or you can just put some, dummy amounts here. Let's just start with a dummy amount. We're not actually uploading it right away. So we'll just say validate only. Okay. So in the validate only mode, it just checks for everything being, in accordance with the list of values, in accordance with what Oracle wants, the mandatory columns are filled in or not. All those basic things are checked here. Okay. And once you do that, it just retains the values here. It just brings back your validity status here itself, validation status. It doesn't post anything to EBS. And that's what we want. It gets outstanding balances also. So we only want it to go that far. Okay. So wherever there was some defaulting, you can leave the whatever defaulting happens on the Oracle forms, the same happen here also. So you can leave those things blank here as well. So it automatically assigns those. Says processing finished. And it'll just tell you that everything's valid or invalid. So it's all validated here. Then if we go over to the right, it's brought back the invoice balances. So now you can actually tweak this. So you would have to do one upload in validate only mode to get the invoice balances.
Which is fine, because basically what we're trying to avoid is to run an aging report on the customer and match those up and validate those manually before uploading them in this tool. So that works.
Okay, great. All right. Yep. And the override flag is something, in case you want to apply amounts partially. If your setups are in a way that you are allowed to apply a receipt amount partially and not knock off the whole balance, you want to apply it partially to the outstanding balance, then there is a flag you have to set that as yes. And I've just set it up here on the top. It's kind of a default row here. As you can see, this row number 10 is counted as a defaulting row. So if you don't want to repeat the same value every time, so if it's going to be check every time, you can just put it up here. So wherever it is blank, it kind of inherits the value from row number 10. That's the purpose of the default row. So usually if it's always a partial application that you're going to do, just put override up top here, and it'll use that for all the rows.
Okay, so if it were to say, sorry, this is probably a stupid question, but I just want to make sure I understand. So if I had no or blank in that override column, it would only validate for invoices where we were paying the complete outstanding balance.
Right. So if I have one of them as no, and you're actually paying only partial, then it'll reject this application. It'll just go and create the receipt, but it won't apply. It'll say that you're not applying in full. It's just a kind of a user control here. If you don't want to access. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead, highlight all of these and change this to validate and upload now. So it seemed like everything was validated. So let's go ahead and upload selected. And while this happens, you can always navigate off. You don't have to be in that screen, or you don't have to monitor it. You can always navigate off to other applications and come back and check the status. Okay, so these are the capabilities in brief. You can create, mass upload, or I showed the forms as well. And there were some applications we had already done on that. Some were left unapplied. Now we'll be able to download some of those receipts that we are creating, and we'll try to unapply them also and then reapply to something else. Okay, so that's the next scenario we're going to do. Then we would create adjustments, miscellaneous receipts, and other functionality. So let's go back. Okay, so it says processing finished. I close it, and it's all accepted in green, which is all a good sign. So all of these receipts should have been created now in the instance, all of these 1 to 8. Okay, and then I can always download any one of them. So the method to download is I just go to a blank row. So just make sure it's blank all the way. Okay. And then I can use the name or use a form actually to download receipts. And I can say that I'm downloading a receipt. I can also download transactions actually directly here, but that's mostly for adjustments or any of those. Okay, so let's say I just want to download 0523. Oh, there's no 18. I'll just download any one of them. So once I download, then I can apply or unapply. So as many columns or sections you have, it will download everything. Okay, and then you can take a look at that. It'll tell you what's the unapplied amount, any applications, any adjustments that you have, it'll have. I didn't include the adjustment, so it doesn't show that. Now, if I want to just go and put an application to this, or let me just go for a receipt where there was already an application, one of those. So let's go for demo 6 maybe, or demo 5. So that already has an application. Okay, so let's go here. And you can download via Sheet also, I think, and that.
So I could download multiple receipts and apply them all in one upload. In one upload, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so let's unapply this. Okay, something going on. It's not bringing the application amount. Let's see, demo 6 didn't have, or demo 6 didn't have, okay, any applications. I should have downloaded 5. Sorry. All right, let's go.
Now, can you download the receipt using the sheet instead of the form. Like, you know what the receipt number
Mhm.
is. If you
Right.
just type this, type 0523 demo 5 in that cell,
Mhm.
you can download the receipt.
Yeah, there was a functionality we were going to bring in. Let me just check if it is there in this version. So that is download via sheet, and which is definitely more efficient. I do that most of the time, but it was not there here. Let me just check now via sheet. I can say, yeah, it doesn't look like it is there yet. I can check. I'd already asked for that, and that's the reason I was going to the form, but I can check.
Okay,
So far it has that.
clarification, you cannot download the receipt from the sheet. You have to use the form.
Right, as of now here. But yeah, that was an enhancement that was being built in. So right now it has that for transactions. So as you can see, if I have these transaction numbers listed and I want to download via sheet all of these transactions. So these are actual invoices, AR invoices. So then I can do the transaction, or I can even download by customer number. Okay, so I can put in my criteria for transaction or customer and then download via sheet. But so far it was not there for receipts for some reason. So now it brought back all of those wherever it found a match for those transaction numbers. Okay. So it brought back the outstanding balances or whatever. And you have to be in adjustment mode. Actually, if you're in create mode, it doesn't bring back everything. But if you're in adjustment mode, it brings back more details at the header and everything. Okay, it brought back these header level details and the transaction balances. So then you can do adjustments or anything on the existing transaction. So I'll check on being able to download via sheet for receipts as well. That was something I'd requested some time ago.
So if you chose customer there, would it give you every open transaction on the customer record? Every receipt, but that's showing transactions.
Transaction, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah, I see where you're going. Okay, sorry. That was kind of a.
So I basically get an open aging. for a customer.
Let me see. Is it every open, or do you have to restrict override customer number, name, and customer number defined further by? I believe it'll have, let me see. I'll have to try it out basically. I mean, I can't remember if transaction number was a mandatory criteria on that. So let me just unhide a few columns here because I had put the customer number and everything hidden here. So basically you'll put in the override customer number here. So let's say I have 1004, and I say download via sheet. Yeah, so I could do that. So returns all open transactions refined by customer number name and override customer number or name. Yeah, it does that. And I can check this for include closed transactions.
Oh, we wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Unless we're doing
Yeah.
reapplication.
We could, yeah, the reconciliation would be.
Nice. Okay, thank you for that.
Okay. All right, so I'll check on that one for the download via form for via sheet for receipts. So let's just unapply these. It's very simple. You just change the mode to unapply, validate and upload, and just highlight, with the receipt that you want to unapply and say upload selected. So if there's only one application you want to unapply, you can just take off the other one, just delete when you have downloaded. You can take off, let's say this was right and this was not correct. Then just take this off and do the unapplication. So that you just take one and unapply. So now you go back to the section, it says accepted, everything's good. So now our demo file should be available with no applications. The whole balance should be back on the receipt. Okay. And if I scroll over, all of the balance of 500 is available. There's no applications. Now, if I want to apply this, I'll change the mode to apply. And then I can use any transaction number or override customer number or any of those. Okay. If it's the same as the header, you don't even need to specify. If you're doing it for a related party, then you can specify here. Or if you go for the transaction number, it'll automatically populate that as well. So I can just use the same invoice numbers in application mode, in the apply mode. Could copy those same, come down here and do these for the apply mode. And I can put some balances I want to apply. So let's say I just wanted to do, 75 and 125 or whatever. Okay, that's how I wanted to split it. I can again do a validate only if I want to check the balances again, just to make sure. Otherwise, if I'm confident, I can just go and say apply and upload selected. And again, here I could double click and pull up the form and look for any invoice values and everything. So that's always available. Okay, so you got some application IDs, which means that it should have been applied. And it says accepted here, so all is good. So this should have been applied now. If I download again, I should be able to see partial application, basically.
Okay, for clarification, so if I have a high volume customer
Mhm.
that a receipt came in through the lockbox applied completely incorrectly,
Mhm.
I would first have to download the receipt in the application,
Right.
unapply them,
Mhm.
and then create new lines in the template for the correct application and upload the correct application line.
In apply mode, right.
In apply mode, yes, sorry.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, just
so it's
finish
kind of
it.
a two-step process.
Right. Yeah, because the modes are different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I was going through those steps that Roxanne just outlined,
Mhm.
then in the kind of in the middle of that, after I've unapplied the receipt, then I can go download by customer, all the customer data. So like then I have all the open AR,
Yeah,
right?
those transactions, right,
Mhm. Right.
your application,
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay. Then I would want to,
and with the balances and everything.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's actually pretty nifty.
yeah,
I can see that as a major time saver there.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and I was further unhiding some columns. I had a lot of columns hidden on the right. So actually there was adjustment section also included here. So even while you're creating your receipts, you can, when you have, this is how it was done. So even when you have a transaction number, simultaneously, you could be doing an adjustment over on the adjustment section against the invoice.
So you can
Nice.
all in one upload.
All in
So
one.
on
Yeah.
the, let's say that this customer had discounts. They had taken discounts on the invoices, but they didn't reflect that anywhere.
Mhm.
So I have $97 to apply to a $100 invoice. It's not going to validate if I have override, if I do not override the invoice total. Is there a way to put like a percentage sign, let's say, on the discount or unearned discount field that would have it automatically populate the remainder for review?
Yeah. This could be a formula. It could be an Excel formula. So if you point to the right columns, and do a subtraction or whatever from the outstanding balance minus whatever you want. So you could do this minus. Actually, there was a need where there was a few cents off the payment and the outstanding balance. So we would do a
Yep.
write-off of this
Yeah,
much.
that's
This minus
exactly
this.
what I'm thinking of, is like just to
So
clean up
this would be a
the
write-off.
tiniest amount.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you could do a formula like this.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. So that could be in the same go, or you could have separately, like over here, what I've done is you can list all your transaction numbers. And if you know all the adjustments that are going to go in there, Okay, this was basically for the write-offs, that scenario I was talking about. Basically, if I do validate only and get all the invoice balances, and I'd put a formula against that. So if you notice, this is for the scenario. This was pointing to the outstanding balance. So you're just writing off all the outstanding balances here, which is not mostly what you would want. You would typically want a subtraction. So you can do that also.
Right, so any formula will work.
Right.
So I would apply the receipt first to the open balance and then go back and do the adjustments of the
No, you can
account?
do it all.
You could do it in one, yeah.
Okay, excellent, great.
In other words, you create the receipt, apply the receipt, and adjust the transaction balances all at the same time.
Nice, very good.
Yeah, so for that, you just have to include all of the sections like I had it here on the first go. And actually, I had created a adjustment on the transaction on one of the receipts as well. When I was creating a receipt, simultaneously, I'd created this plus 10 of adjustment charges here. Okay. Okay. Any questions so far on these basic functionality that we went over?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. That was
Yeah,
great.
and the little additional thing was the miscellaneous receipts. So basically, your receipt type is a miscellaneous on these, and for that you would go into the you can put in all the standard fields, and on the miscellaneous distribution, you just have to include this section. You can put your account and put the percentages. So it's a very simple functionality. You don't have to, define this account or anything as an activity. You can just put that on the miscellaneous account column here.
That's the GL combination, right? The
GL code
account
combination, yes. And you get the multi-segment kind of a list of values also.
Okay, great.
Oh, it's because it's in the, you just have to be in create mode, not in adjustment. Yeah, so if you double click here, you should be able to get the miscellaneous account as a code combination and as a multi-segment field, and you can find out from there as well. So if I click on this list of values, the 3 dots, it brings up the multi-segment, chart of accounts kind of a thing. So you can pick up the company, yeah, and even valid combinations for these. So if I just remove this and ask for the valid
So in other words,
combinations.
if I try to use an invalid account combination, I'll get the validation error here.
Yes, value is
Nice.
not in the
Okay.
list of values, yeah. That's only if you bring up the form. Otherwise, in validation stage, it'll reject. So if you just type in, of course, it'll allow anything here. If you just straight away go and type in something, that'll allow you to type, but then when you're uploading, it'll reject it as an invalid value. Okay. So on this scenario, you just have like end of the month or something, miscellaneous receipts. So you would have all of this data, right? Your receipt number, customer, and account numbers. Any hurdle you see in setting up the data for the miscellaneous receipts?
No?
Okay. Yeah. So if you have the accounts and everything, you should just be able to insert those and create. Okay, we were invalidate, upload. Let's do that. It says a value. It's not in the list of values for this column, bill to location. Okay, let's just take it off, let it default. And I changed it to validate and upload. I don't know what the bill
Do
to
we have to
location.
have a customer number to be able to do the upload?
On the miscellaneous receipts?
Uh-huh.
I believe so. I don't know. I'll have to check. I mean, whatever Oracle mandates, it should be the same functionality from here.
Okay, you do not need
You do not?
numbers. Yeah.
Okay.
Because what we're looking for this specific functionality is to be able to deposit checks,
Okay.
let's say a refund from the utility company. So they're not our customer, we're actually their customer, but we've got to have a way of depositing and recording that check.
Okay. Okay, and you're able to do that on standard Oracle
Yes.
without a customer number. Okay. Yeah, so it should allow it here as well. I didn't try that because I didn't know it was allowed that way. Let's just try to do it. So just leave all of this. We do need activity, I suppose, right? Or
Yes.
and I'm not sure about the receipt date and maturity and all of that.
Yeah, I think you need that as well.
All of these, okay.
Yeah.
So let's just leave the customer and the bill to blank and see what it does. Okay. Yeah, it does get created, yeah. Yeah, so that also works.
Nice. Using multiple account distributions. Awesome.
Yeah, you would have a percentage split.
When creating receipts,
Mhm.
can you do attachments from the wizard at the same time to attach to that receipt?
Like a PDF or something. Yeah, you would just have to bring
Yes.
in the, I believe I don't have the section, but if you don't find some columns, you can go to the setup ribbon here. All along we were in the AR receipt wizard for our uploads and downloads, but when you go to the setup, you get access to what other fields are there that are not on your layout under customize fields. And let me see if we have attachments. Most of our wizards do have.
Right. I've never tested it obviously with the customer wizard. I know the functionality is there. I've just never had a reason to use it, but I think
Okay.
we will definitely have reason to attach like the PDF of the actual receipt and, you know, attach that at the same time we're creating the receipt.
Oh, you have a PDF. Okay. For some reason. Okay, yeah, here are the attachments. Yeah. So if you include all of these, you should be able to. So you have the attachment title, category, and then you make it a file. You're able to browse and attach from your local drive as well. So just make sure you include this section. So if I create a new sheet now, these are all checked or selected. So then it should include those.
Well, I hope we never get to the point where we're using 15 different DFS fields.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've selected a whole lot of columns here.
Right.
So then I can, once I create this sheet, I can save this workbook as a template for, you know,
Yeah,
non-AR deposits.
Right. Yeah, that's what most people do. They have multiple layouts and then they pass it to the end users once they have finalized the layout. So this is the attachment. You can put sequence, title. You can double click and point to a file also.
Oh, okay. I guess that was my next question is how do you get to the file?
Right. So if you put that as a the category or the data type, what is a file? Oh. I think I would need all of the header data before this comes up. But if you have the attached type as file and the content, you're able to browse. You get the browse button on the content. It's basically you point to the path.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Any other scenarios or?
don't think so.
No, I am.
So if I had a list of 10 customers that I wanted to create a credit memo to a specific GL member,
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
how would I do that using this?
Oh, there she goes. That's what attachment.
Yeah, no, I was working on that in the background. Credit memo, you want to create new credit memos for a
Mhm.
list of 10?
Right.
Okay, no, credit memos is like a transaction, right? So we have the AR invoice for that. AR invoice wizard.
Oh,
So
that's a separate wizard.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you own that or you had
You can only
evaluated.
create adjustment transactions.
Right.
So anything that you can do with the receipt, you can use the wizard for.
Mm-hmm.
Can you reverse receipt using the wizard? That have an NSF
Reversal.
check?
The reversal functionality, no, that is not available on the wizard. There's no API. We had checked on that. We're still waiting for some API.
That's okay.
Is that on the invoice wizard as well?
Adjustments?
So to Roxanne's point of if you have a, say we receive an NSF check or, you know, more likely 20 NSF checks, how would I manage that using any of your tools? How would I reverse the original payment and post a $25 charge to the
That
customer account?
functionality isn't available using the wizard right now. We have to do it the way that we're doing it right now.
Right. The
Okay.
reversal is not there on the wizard.
Okay, not in any tools.
Right. Receipt reversal, no.
Has anybody logged an enhancement request with Oracle?
Yes, I think we are waiting for the APIs too.
Oh, okay. How are we? Rick, are you still there?
I think he was going to log off after 30 minutes. Let me check.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks like
Do
he's.
you know if there's been any updates with the GL Wizard? I've also been talking to him about that.
There was
I'll touch base
towards,
with him on
yeah,
that.
I think it's best to ask him. There was something that came beginning of the year, but I don't know
Yeah, but
when
it
was the last
hasn't
time.
happened yet, so.
Okay. Okay, so I'll let him know. I mean, you had a question, and on this, maybe, I don't know if you have a trial version or you've downloaded a test version of this.
Well, it's the same situation that we were waiting for the receipt wizard for the enhancement of the multiple GL distributions using the wizard on the miscellaneous receipt. The GL wizard, there's currently an enhancement request being implemented that allows for budget
Okay,
upload functionality. So we're waiting on that to be completed with Oracle before I even
okay, got
do
it.
any kind of testing
Right,
with
right.
it. I'll follow up with him on that though.
Okay, sure, yeah. And on this one, the AR receipt wizard, do you have you tested it ever before, or have you downloaded a trial?
Actually, I just got the trial version. I got all of the
Okay.
patches and
Oh, good.
stuff installed in our test environment, and I've gone over a lot of it, but I really haven't done any true testing. I wanted to kind of familiarize myself with it by the demo
Okay,
before I went in and started playing. So I hopefully will be able to get some playing done, quote unquote, playing
right.
in the next couple of weeks and see where we go.
Okay.
It looks good though. I like what I'm seeing so far.
Mm-hmm. Great. And we'll make this recording available to you so that you can look it up when you test it
Perfect.
yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.